on the agenda, I need to call everything to order. You all know that our simplified rules of Robert's rules of order are in the envelope, and we're going to use those against tonight should we need them to refer to. So I think the next thing to do is to do a roll call. Janet, would you like to call the roll?
Yes, happy to do that. Can everyone hear me okay? Thumbs up. People can hear. Good. Thank you.
Good.
Good. Leslie Hammond.
Yep.
Steve Mullinax.
Here.
Teddy O.
Teddy Okonokhua. Teddy.
Sorry,
He
I
was
was
just.
here.
Oh, he's there. Okay, great.
Running.
Katie Daly.
Present.
Bruce Kester.
Here.
Thank you. Becky Lilliquist. I think Becky's here. Yeah, I think.
Yes, I saw
Celia.
her on the test.
Yeah.
She's not hearing her. She might not have turned her microphone
Yeah,
on.
I'm here.
Thank you,
Okay,
Becky. Fran Laird. See Fran.
Here.
Hi. Tony Hansen.
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Thank you. George Branos.
I'm here.
Kendall Kick. I see Kendall.
Here.
Thumbs up. Yeah. Tatiana.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Jackie Phillips.
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Ron Burian.
He's been excused.
Excused. Thank you. Eric Lavaki. Is Eric here with Markham?
I don't think he is.
No, excused. Okay. And then Marshall Park. Michael Charles.
I don't think
No.
anyone is here from Marshall Park.
Okay. Okay. Maria T. Mai.
Here.
Great. And then South Burlingame, will it be Robert Lennox or Shannon Hiller Webb?
Shannon, I'm present.
Barely heard you, Shannon. Could you repeat that, please?
Well, I'm here, so I'm present. So yeah.
So you're representing South Burlingame. Thank you. South Portland, Anna Friedhoff.
She was here earlier.
Okay. Charlie
Sorry, I
Van
was just trying
Rossen.
to unmute myself. I'm present.
Oh,
Sorry.
thank you. Charlie Van Rossen. Yeah,
Yes,
Charlie Van
here.
Rossen.
Present.
And Javier, are you here for West Portland Park?
I'm here for West Portland Park.
Great. And could you pronounce did I pronounce your name correctly? I just want to make sure
Javier Moncada or Javier
Thank you.
Moncada.
Javier, thank you.
Yeah.
Gary Rundy,
Here.
Mike Lindman,
Here.
Kim Silverman. Kim, are you here?
Yes.
Thank you. Patty McMahon. Oh, I think you're muted,
Here.
Patty. Thanks. Thanks. Stephen Lewis, are you here for transportation?
I am.
Thank you. Murphy Terrell.
Present.
Thank you. Don Bach.
Well, he was here.
He was here. There's Don. He's muted. Hi, Don.
Okay, we've got him.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I think that concludes the roll call. Almost everybody is here. Welcome, everybody. We need to move on to the approval of the agenda tonight. We had to make some revisions to it because of sort of all the late breaking news that we had.
Yeah.
Sylvia, is there anything else that would change on this agenda tonight? Okay, then do I hear a motion to approve the agenda? Somebody has to turn on their microphone and move.
I so move. I so move.
Okay,
And second, Murphy Terrell, second.
All right, thank you very much. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
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 Great.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
One person is opposed? No, none's opposed. Any abstaining? Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to the minutes for May 27th, which we tabled until this meeting. Janet, do you want to put those minutes up with the proposed revisions?
Yeah, I think Sylvia's going to do the posting.
Okay.
And so these were for the May 27th edits. Those were placed, I think, in the board box about a week ago into the board file. Then we have June amendments that came in today. So those are a little bit more current, had to put those in today. And Sylvia is posting. So for May 27th, you're going to see highlights, Shannon Hiller Webb had proposed amendments. Katie Daly is in blue and I'm in green. So Shannon Hiller Webb's first comment there under 1A was she didn't believe Laura was in attendance. My comment is Laura attended via phone for that meeting on May 27th. And then you can scroll down. Sylvia, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, keep going on the scrolling, right? So you see the larger paragraph was what was standing in the minutes. You might want to scroll up a little bit. Shannon Hiller Webb had some specific information she wished to add that's highlighted in yellow. My response is actually, I went back, took a look at the video of this. I didn't see those budget numbers mentioned by Shannon. It was actually Lee Bueller who was doing the report at that time, and Lee did discuss those numbers. So my recommended edit on this is that Shannon Hiller Webb asked about SWNI's estimated loss of revenue. Mr. Bueller gave a detailed description of the information in the financial reports. And scrolling down, you'll see the content that's there, and you can stop right there, Sylvia, that's good. Ms. Shannon Hiller Webb asked that these be edits, so you'll see them there highlighted in yellow. My comment is a summary of comments during that report Sylvia was giving. Ms. Bogart said that Mr. A, I'll have a hard time pronouncing his name, was supportive of the use of civic light funds and indicated that it would not be a problem. So we'll scroll down. So you can see edits are moving into 3 pages. And again, Shannon Hiller Webb had suggested edits. And my suggestion is that those minutes should stand. The discussion in the May 27th, 2020 meeting accurately summarizes the content of the discussion. No changes suggested. And then Katie Daly's edits are highlighted in blue regarding the financial statements. And you can keep going, Sylvia, to the next page. Katie Daly's would like us to say, Mr. Van Rossen, strike the rest of that sentence, described how to interpret a statement of cash flows. Explanation of how to interpret a statement of cash flow is dedicated. Of course, what Katie says, and then so my suggested edit is how to create a statement of cash flows in QuickBooks statements. So that's it for those edits. Any comments?
All right, all in favor of approving the May 27th minutes with Janet's edits, say
We'll have to
aye.
do actually, we'll have to do a roll call, Leslie,
Okay,
because
all
there
right.
were some
You
people are
wanna
going to
call
need to,
roll?
those who weren't there are going to need to abstain. So Steve Mullinax,
Yes.
Teddy O,
Yes.
myself, I'm voting yes. Katie Daly,
Yes.
Bruce Kester,
Yes.
Becky Lilliquist,
Yes.
Fran Laird,
Yes.
Tony Hansen,
Abstain.
George Branos,
Yes.
Kendall Kick,
Abstain.
Tatiana,
I think I have to abstain because I did not attend that meeting.
you weren't there, thank you.
All right,
Jackie
thank-
Phillips,
Yes.
Ron Burian is excused, Eric Levicki, Michael Charles, Maria T. Mai,
Yes.
Shannon Hiller Webb,
It should be noted that each revision should be voted on and discussed, and so I am no.
Thank you.
Anna Friedhoff,
Yes.
Charlie Van Rossen,
Yes.
Javier,
He's going to
Abstain.
abstain here.
abstain, okay, thank
Willing
you.
here.
Gary Rundy,
Yes.
and Mike Lindman, I think is an abstention.
I am abstaining. I wasn't part of the board or there.
Right, thank you. Kim Silverman,
Yes.
Patty, I think you'll need to
Abstain.
abstain on this. Yes, thank you. Stefan, I think an abstention as well.
Yep.
Murphy
Yes.
and Don Bach.
Yes.
Okay. The May 27th.
Oh, just a second. Oh, I've got to count the votes here. Just a second, Leslie.
Right, you
Hang
go
on
ahead
just a
and
second.
count.
Sylvia and I are counting.
Right, that's all right. But I would say that on the May 27th minutes, as finally revised, looks like it's passed.
I have 16 yeses, so yes, it is passed.
Thank
And I've
you.
noted the noes and the abstentions.
Okay. So we're going to go to June 24th, and would you like to go through that? Janet, are you ready?
Yes, yeah, ready to go on that one. So again, color highlighting. We'll start with Katie Daly's amendments. On page 1, Ms. Daly noted that the second vice president position was listed as vacant. That was accurate. Ms. Ramirez.
Can we hold it right there?
Yes.
I attended the June 17th Finance and Executive Committee meetings, and Maria was present. And she did not resign until the 23rd, according to the email that we all received on July 16th. I was not aware that she was no longer a board member until July 15th, a month later, at the Finance and Executive Committee when I asked where she was. Sylvia sent her email out after that, about 10 o'clock at night on the 16th. To have the June 24th meeting minutes reflect that the position was vacant assumes that the board was aware that it was vacant, and there was no announcement made at the meeting, and there was no discussion of it at all. And the only people that knew were the executive committee and Sylvia. So I have a question for Janet, since she keeps all the minutes and keeps records of everything. Janet, was there an executive committee meeting between when I attended at June 17th and her resignation on June 23rd?
There was not, I don't believe.
There
I'll have to
wasn't.
look at the records. There wasn't.
There was no meeting. Okay. Well, I just couldn't figure out why she resigned. And the meeting minutes for the 24th can't reflect it. And that was my note that I forwarded to, that it couldn't be reflected because it wasn't aware. Nobody was aware, and it wasn't documented on any of the information submitted for that meeting. I'm going to be a stickler about that.
Well, I think Ms. Maria, my understanding, well, Sylvia, you go ahead. Sylvia, you kind of handled the email correspondence.
So actually, the way she put her email, she said to the board, I guess we assumed that she had included the board email address. And when Katie brought this up, I went back and checked, and she hadn't included the board. So
we were unaware that she hadn't.
Yeah.
However, Sylvia, she resigned 24 hours before our June board meeting. There should have been discussion and an announcement when an officer of the board has left the board. And that was not given as a courtesy to the board, that an officer of the board had resigned. And we did not discover it until July.
We appreciate your comments, but as Sylvia said, we thought the information had gone to the board, and we didn't put it on the board list because we had other things to talk about. And actually, frankly, I was trying to talk with her about staying on the board to see if she could shift some of the other commitments that she'd made to come back to the board. So that's probably why it wasn't on the agenda at that time.
However, there were two significant resignations prior to the board meeting of June. Laura Campos also resigned her position as Equity Committee Chair with pretty strong language around her resignation, which means two women BIPOC of our organization resigned quite abruptly prior to a board meeting in June, and there was no discussion.
I want to raise a point of order here. We're trying to decide what the wording of these minutes it should be. We're not here to discuss the resignation of those two officers.
Well, Maria should not be
Point
reflected.
well taken, and that's the decision of the chair. Point well taken. Let's go back to the minutes.
So following up on that, Katie asked that her name be struck from sentence beginning Maria Tyval and Katie Daly. So accept that amendment.
What is the page 1 decision? because nobody knew. These are board minutes and nobody but the executive committee and the director knew.
What are you talking about? We're talking about the pages 5 through 8, are we not?
No, I'm talking about page 1. I didn't hear the decision on that because no, these are board meeting minutes. The board was unaware. The executive committee and executive director were aware. The minutes for the board cannot reflect that the position was vacant because we didn't know.
Does somebody have an amendment to the minutes to clarify this?
I move that the minutes reflect what Katie's saying, that the board, so just delete the words Miss Ramirez had resigned from the board before the meeting.
All right, is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of the amendment to that particular portion of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, let's move on to the next minute revision.
Wait, so on page 2, Katie asked that her name not be included, so we would strike Katie's name in that sentence, accept that amendment. Ms. Daly asked that the sentence that reads to reduce civic life contract funds to SWNI, that's accepted. The next excerpt is from different language. Ms. Daly suggested that you'll see it highlighted in blue, inner southwest, northwest. The actual name of the group is Neighbors West Northwest. I think Katie and I both were incorrect on that, so I would recommend that we go with Neighbors West Northwest.
In all fairness to you and me, Janet, I went to the website, the city's website, and they have it incorrectly listed. So.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, and it was almost between the two of us, we had it right, but I think so. Anyway, we'll politely give them their correct name. So we definitely want to accept that amendment. And then the other blue amendment is whether there would be a reduction in the coalition civic life funds, and I think we should accept that amendment.
Okay.
And on to Robert Lennox submitted amendments today. So the original language there, Sylvia is scrolling up to it. You'll see the original paragraph. These are Mr. Lennox's amendments in yellow, and you want to keep scrolling, Sylvia. So my recommendation, and this was at the very, this content is at the very end of a 2.5-hour meeting. I think there was a general level of tiredness with the group. My suggestion is not to go to direct quotations of people, but to summarize in minutes. So the new content would read, Mr. Lennox asked about the renewal of the business associations in March. President Hammond said she'd been in communication with 2 business associations who were interested in remaining engaged with SWNI. Mr. Lennox questioned whether this contact took place in March for SWNI's bylaws. Ms. Hammond said she would check with Ms. Bogert. The note says the March 25th, 2020 board minutes reflect that Sylvia Bogert reported on the partnership status of the business associations. So that's a reference back to past minutes where Sylvia talked about that relationship.
Are there any further amendments to the June 24th minutes?
Voted on.
So I have a question.
Talk unless you're recognized. You cannot talk unless you're recognized. So let me look to the blue hands. Where are the blue hands?
My hand has been raised.
All right, Shannon, you may comment.
I would like to take,
yes, and you cannot comment, but Shannon can comment for you.
I would like to take each revision as a separate vote for the meeting minutes so that we can have a chance to review each, not as a whole, much like we just did at the head of the meeting minutes for the incorrect statement of Maria's resignation. And it should be stated that this is the characterization of what happened in Robert's meeting minutes is not accurate, and he's asking for a correct characterization of what was stated.
Thank you. We're going to ask, is there a second for her suggested revisions?
Second.
No, you can't.
Steve's going to second the motion. Steve, would you read the Robert's Rules of Order about what minutes should reflect?
Yes.
And it might be helpful to the board to listen.
Okay. There is no object in reporting the debates. The duty of the secretary in such cases is mainly to record what is done by the assembly and not what is said by the members.
Characterization is key, and this is a characterization is not accurate.
You've already had your comment on the motion. Does anybody else have a comment? It looks like Kim Silverman would like to comment. Kim, go ahead.
Hi, I was actually going to ask a question about one of the amendments. It was Katie. She removed her name from Marie Tyval and Katie Bailey questioned whether the committee chairs had been in contact. My recollection is Katie did ask that question, and I actually responded about what the Public Safety Committee did. So I'm just curious why Katie's removing her name.
Katie, I'll recognize you. Do you want to comment?
Yeah, I did look at that, and I did go back and review it, and I had a comment, but the way they wrote, if you want to stand back up to that, it was not a, where to go? Come on. Right there, nope.
Right there.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Whether the committees have been equity and inclusion, but I was suggesting that they should. I wasn't questioning whether they had, or did I? I don't remember.
You did. You said, what have the committees done, if anything? And Leslie said, I don't know that they're ready to answer that. And I said, I am. And I answered, and you said, good.
Yeah, you did.
So
Okay,
I would do it as written.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we cannot recognize people that are guests, but we can recognize people that are here as representatives from associations. So Rob, I'm not going to recognize you. I just want you to know that. Jackie, you still have your hand up. Is this a new comment or an old comment?
It's been an old comment.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
That's all right. All right. I think we've had a motion to go take these things piecemeal or and talk about them individually, or just to vote on it as a whole. So I'm going to ask the board, we'll do a roll call. How many people want to take these individual amendments and talk about them individually? And Janet, will you like to call the roll?
Sure. Steve Mullinax?
No.
Teddy O?
We want it individually?
Yeah, individually or as a whole?
No.
What's the motion?
The motion is, how many of you want to take each of these revisions individually, as opposed to doing the revisions as a whole, which is the way it was put up. So it's a request to do the revisions individually as opposed to doing a whole sheet of revisions.
Okay, thank you.
Great,
You're welcome.
thanks. Janet Hawkins, I'm a no. Katie Daly?
I'll vote yes.
Bruce Kester?
No.
Becky Lilliquist?
No.
Fran Laird?
I was not at the meeting, so I abstained.
Oh, okay, thank you. Tony Hansen?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tony, are you still here?
Yes, I'm abstaining. I was not
Okay.
there.
Okay. Kendall Kick?
I'm abstaining. I was at the May meeting, not the June meeting.
Tatiana, I think it's an abstention for you.
Yes,
well.
abstention, yes.
Thank you. Jackie Phillips?
Can you read the question again, please?
Yeah, Leslie, do you want to go ahead and the decision
Yeah,
was
so
whether
once
to...
again, the amendment to the motion, which was to approve the entire list of revisions, the amendment to the motion is having the board go through each single revision and discuss them individually as opposed to do them in the entirety.
No.
Okay. Thanks. Maria T. Mai?
I vote to do it as a whole.
Thank you.
Okay.
We know you
Shannon?
got it.
I think that's a no, Maria, but I don't.
It was, that's true. Shannon Hiller Webb?
This was never a motion, so I'm not sure why we're voting on it. I was asking for the Robert Rules of Order, and that would have been directed towards Steve Mullinax, but I wasn't allowed to speak any further. So I never put a motion forward.
That's right.
motion and it was seconded.
I never made a motion. You made a motion and you can't make a motion.
I didn't make a motion.
Well, I don't have a motion on the table, so I'm not sure we're voting on. I asked for the Roberts rules on this.
Maybe a straw poll here that.
I don't think Robert's rule speaks to the issue we're dealing with.
But I think we have a Roberts rules advisor, so I'm asking Steve Mullinax.
All right, well, you keep voting and we'll see what we can find here.
All right.
Okay, Anna Friedhoff.
Who made the motion? What motion are we voting on? Who made the motion?
All right.
We'll just call it, why don't we call it a straw poll that Leslie requested? Shannon
Okay.
clearly did not make a motion.
Okay, straw poll, Anna.
Are you still here, Anna? I don't see her on the list. She might have stepped out.
Okay.
Yeah, she's there.
Okay.
She has her microphone turned off. We'll come back to her.
Okay, Charlie Von Rossen.
No.
Okay, Javier,
No.
or would it be abstaining? Were you?
Well, I think if it was a motion to approve, I
Oh,
could
okay.
abstain. But
Gotcha.
if it's just a straw poll, I think I can weigh in, and I'm going to say no.
Oh, okay, thank you. Gary Rundy,
No.
Mike Lindman,
I'm going to abstain.
okay, Kim Silverman,
No.
Patty McMahon,
No.
Stephen Lewis,
Abstain.
He's abstaining.
Thanks.
Okay.
Murphy,
No.
and Don Bach.
Okay.
Janet, this is Anna Friedhoff, and I vote no.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Didn't ask for Southwest.
All right, let's
Oh,
go
I'm
back.
sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't get
George?
George.
Oh, George.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
Let's go back.
one, two.
While you're counting, it looks like our straw poll says that we wouldn't want to do
Yeah,
this
so-
line by line.
Looks like 17 no's.
Okay. So let's go back to where we were on the minutes. We did get through all the minutes as a whole, right, Janet?
Sylvie, could you scroll down to the bottom just to double check? Yes, I believe we did.
All right, so I think we're ready for a vote on this.
We need a motion.
We need a motion to approve the June 24th minutes. Do I have
So
a
moved.
motion?
So moved, Don Bach.
We haven't received any guidance from Steve Mullinax.
All right. Yes, Shannon, if you could cite that specifically, that will help. I did a quick read on the issues around the minutes, and I did not find anything that said they needed to be considered point by point and debated. So, but if you have, you may have better information, and please let me know if you do.
I can go back and find it. I can reserve the right to add it in the meeting minutes, but I mean.
Yes, you can if you choose to do that. So let's go back to motion. We have Don said to move the approval of the motions. Do we have a second?
Yes. Me, George.
George?
George,
Okay.
thank you.
Good. All right. All in favor? We're going to do
Before
a
we
roll.
vote, I
So
hate
Janet's
to do
gonna do
this.
a roll call.
I have a point of order.
What is your point of?
My point of order is, while I appreciate Janet taking the roll call because of the confusion as to who voted for what thing in a couple meetings back, I went back to look up and find out where Don Bach was approved as the representative from the Hillsdale neighborhood, and I found no record of it. It's supposed to be a vote. I looked in the bylaws.
He's been a part of this neighborhood association for a long time.
Yes, I understand that, but to be a representative, a voting member, he has to be recommended by the executive committee and then voted by the board into position. And he took his position last year, I think April of 2019, and there was no vote back then. And it's supposed to be annually, and there was no vote this year.
This is a separate issue. We thank you for bringing it up. We'll address it at a different part of the meeting or in a subsequent meeting. Thank you, Katie. let's go back to the motion. Janet, do you want to call the order? Call
Right.
the roll.
Call the roll. Steve Mullinax.
Yes.
Yes. Teddy O.
Teddy? Did you unmute yourself, Teddy?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, he's a yes.
Okay. Janet's a yes. Katie Daly.
No, sorry. No.
Bruce Kester.
Yes.
And Becky Lilliquist.
Becky? We'll come back to her.
No.
Okay.
Okay, she's a no.
Okay. Fran Laird.
Abstain.
Tony Hansen.
Abstain.
George Branos.
Yes.
Kendall Kick.
Abstain.
Tatiana.
She's probably an abstention. She wasn't here at
Yeah.
that meeting.
Jackie Phillips.
I'm voting on whether to approve the minutes as yellow.
Amended. As
amended.
amended in green.
Yes.
See, Maria T. Mai
Yes.
and Shannon Hiller Webb.
Abstain.
Anna Friedhoff
Yes.
and Charlie Van Rossen
Yes.
and Debbie Hall, or excuse me, Javier.
I'll abstain.
Thank you. And Gary Rendy,
Yes.
Mike Lindman.
Abstain.
Thank you. Kim Silverman,
Yes.
Patty McMahon.
Abstain.
You, Stefan. I think that, unmuting, but I think an abstention. Murphy Terrell
Yes.
and Don Bach.
Yes.
All right. We'll let you count the votes, but it appears that these minutes have passed. We had a lot of
Like 12 yeses, 9 abstentions, and we have, I think, 2 noes.
I've had my hand up.
Three
I'd like to
noes.
make a motion. I'd like to move that the official SWNI board meeting minutes be video recordings of the board meeting supplemented by written recording members present, motions or proposals, their disposition, and reflect the roll call vote of each member of the board by name if the vote is not unanimous.
Point
This
of order.
bar recognizes accurate meeting minutes of all board meetings may be preserved in video or digital recording, and we continue to waste a lot of time each meeting going over these meeting minutes, and the official record should be the video.
We have a point of order. Steve, was that you?
I don't believe that motion is in order at this time.
Is there anyone who has a second?
The rule, the chair rules that the order is well taken, that the point is well taken.
I would like to, then I'd like to have this motion raised at the appropriate time in this meeting.
I would suggest to you, Ms. Hiller-Webb, we have so much other work to do. You bring it back to the next meeting where you have time to write it out and send it in by the executive meeting. So we'll have it on the agenda then. Maria Taimai, I can see your hand is up.
Yeah, if I recall, we had this discussion on videotaping a while back, and we determined that we couldn't do it for a number of reasons, and the video recording wasn't accessible to everybody, and there were all kinds of reasons on why it could not be an official record. I believe we had this discussion previously, so I would suggest that we move on.
That was not my previous motion from back in October. My motion was what ultimately got adopted, not to make it the official record. This one is to make it the official record.
I believe this discussion is out of order.
It is out of order, and you can bring your motion back next month if you choose to. Thank you, Ms. Webb. All right, now we're going to move into our executive committee reports, and the first report is Teddy Okonokhua. Teddy, do you want either Steve or Sylvia to put up the The financials?
Either one's fine with me.
But Sylvia needs to do that.
Okay, Sylvia. So we'll just take a minute while Sylvia puts the financials up so Teddy
You
can
want the
talk about.
report, your report, Teddy, or the financials?
My report's fine.
Okay.
All right. All right. So just quick finance update. City Council amendment. City Council voted to fund neighborhoods, but with a contingency hold on SWNI funding until Civic Life has completed a forensic audit of the financials. And the executive committee has been working with Civic Life to understand the full scope of the request and how we protect any potential liability exposure. An update regarding the PPP program or the payroll protection program. Due to the new uncertainty surrounding Civic Life funding, we will utilize the PPP fund to fund operations, and we remain, and just in general, we remain compliant with the rules of the PPP guideline, and at present expect full loan forgiveness. And if we look looking at the general financial summary, balance sheet, we've got a 41% increase in assets of the organization at end of June, and that's driven by PPP loan and an increase in the restricted accounts. So the PPP loan of 66,000 and the restricted accounts of about 17.6 thousand increase. We also see an increase in liability, which is driven by the PPP loan. Keep in mind that until the loan is forgiven, is still a loan that will be reflected on both sides of the balance sheet, the asset and the liability side. When we look at the income, we saw a net income of 15.3K, and the drivers are as listed below. And are there any questions?
I see Shannon Hiller Webb's name is, or hand is up. Shannon, is that up from the last time, or do you have a new question?
No, I have a new question.
Okay.
Teddy, are you saying that the Civic Life funding is related to, with being withheld is related to a COVID hardship in regards to use of the PPP loan?
The question is,
Are you stating that the Civic Life defunding, the monies that are being withheld from Civic Life are related to COVID hardship for use of that PPP loan?
I'm not stating any of that. I'm just stating that we're using the PPP loan.
Well, you actually stated that because of the Civic Life funding, that you'll be using the PPP loan. So are you stating that Civic Life funding withholding is having anything to do with COVID?
I didn't state that at all, and I'm not stating that at all in this statement.
So Civic Life's withholding of the money is not related to COVID?
You'd have to ask.
Okay, I'll ask it a different way.
I don't believe
Can you tell me
so.
why Civic Life has withheld the money?
We're going to discuss that in the executive session and not at this time.
Statements that the Civic Life money is why that the PPP money will be used. So I'm trying to understand the claim here.
I didn't make that statement.
I can read it right there. It says, with the surrounding of the timing of Civic Life funding, we will utilize the PPP loan to fund operations.
That doesn't state that Civic Life has anything to do with, Civic Life funding decision has anything to do with COVID.
Okay, so we agree about that. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Let me look and see if anybody has their hand up. Okay, Jackie, you have your hand up. What would you like to ask? Jackie?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Betty, I just have a question about the increase in restricted accounts. Can you explain, are the restricted accounts the accounts for the individual neighborhood associations?
Sylvia, can you speak to that really quick?
Yeah, let me put up the balance sheet too. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. So here's the restricted accounts are listed here under the neighborhood associations. And I think what Teddy is speaking to is that the overall net income here is 15,261. So again, some of that goes into what our income is minus our expenses, including everything.
But what it said was there was an increase, and I'm surprised there's an increase in restricted accounts. That's what that was my.
Can I help?
We have Multnomah neighborhood here. If you can see Multnomah neighborhood right here. They had a drive for their land use appeal. So they took in $10,000 there. You see that?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I was just surprised there was any fundraising with the COVID thing, but I see I see it there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions for Teddy? Okay, thank you very much, Teddy. Let's move on to the first Vice President's report. Steve Mullinax.
Thank you, Leslie. And I'll try to be real brief. I know that we're a little behind. Okay. Just want to tell you a little first about the virtual retreat. And, we have had some discussion about how, about some of the topics for that retreat, including communications with residents, including expanding programs and services to reach entire community, including underrepresented, top priorities for community action in a rapidly changing environment. And those, I think, are all good topics. However, I think given the current situation with respect to the emerging forensic audit, document production, and some upcoming medical issues that are on the table for Sylvia, I'm going to ask you guys if it's okay to move that out from August into September now. So we would look for a date in September to have that. Could maybe get a straw poll on that? Is that a reasonable approach?
Let me ask it a different way. Is there any strong opposition to holding our virtual summer retreat in the fall?
No.
Okay. All right, doesn't look like it.
No.
All right. Did somebody say no? You don't have any objection?
Right, I have no objection.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Steve, with the next item.
Okay, and then the second item is to approve committee action plans. Just noting that those have been in the folder since May. Each committee is responsible to deliberate and formulate its own plan, which they have done. Anyone, of course, is free to read them and comment. Now, I personally have not received comments. Perhaps some of the other chairs might have received comments. I don't know. That being the case, I would suggest, do I need to move approval of those plans?
Yes, you do.
I would move.
And need a second.
Murphy Terrell, I second.
Okay. And Steve's moving the approval of the action plans. All right, let's call the roll on this one.
Okay, so approval of the committee action plan. Yeah,
right.
Committee action plans. Steve Mullinax.
Yes.
Teddy O.
Yeah.
Teddy?
Votes
Teddy's a yes.
Okay.
Janet Hawkins is a yes. Katie Daly,
Yes.
Bruce Kester,
Yes.
Becky Lilliquist,
Yes.
Fran Laird,
Yes.
Tony Hansen,
Yes.
George Branos. Oh, George?
George, your microphone's on.
There we go.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you. Kendall Kick,
Yes.
Tatiana,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
and Maria Timai,
Yes.
Shannon Hiller Webb,
No, because the board voted against past equity reporting and future equity accountability in their reports.
Anna Friedhoff,
Yes.
Charlie Van Rossen,
Yes.
Javier.
C or yes.
Thank you. Gary Rendy,
Yes.
Mike Linman,
Yes.
Kim Silverman,
Yes.
Patty McMahon,
Yes.
Stephen Lewis,
Yes.
Murphy,
Murphy?
Sorry, yes, yes, sorry.
That's okay.
and then Don Bach.
Don?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Point
Yes.
of order, Dawn does not have standing.
That's your, the point of order is not well taken at this moment.
Great. That was passed.
All right. Thank you, Steve. The next thing on the agenda is the president's report. And what I'd like to do with the board's permission is actually provide that president's report inside the executive session committee, because the report has everything to do with what we're going to talk about in the executive session. Does anybody have any objection to me doing it a bit later? Okay, I don't see any objections. So the next thing is Sylvia with her report.
So I'll just say that we have a wonderful report coming out, an annual report from the Watershed Resource Center. Eric will share that as soon as BES signs off on it, but it's very impressive. We're finishing up our civic life narrative for the end of the year. It's due on Friday. And then the document production, we've been very busy on that and working as hard as possible. So we're making progress. And then just a reminder that the community engagement allocation project proposals are due on Friday the 24th.
Okay. Then let's move on to committee reports. And most of the committees have written reports and put them in your folder so you can catch up on all of their activities. But tonight we do have a motion from the Parks Committee, and I'd like Mike Lemon to talk to that.
I'm sorry, I had my hand up, Leslie. Before Mike launches into his report, I had a question for Sylvia. She said she's been busy producing documents. So Sylvia, you've been able to gain access to the building?
Yes, I was allowed in last Tuesday and have been in every day since.
Oh, great. And you weren't allowed in before that? Is that what you had to?
I was allowed in once a week to pick up mail. So they were very brief visits. One time he went in and picked up the network that Sharon needed in order to coordinate our access to documents on the cloud. Eric has gone in twice for the Watershed Resource Center.
Well, good. I hope the plants are still alive.
Can you tell me how many?
Excuse me, Shannon, you need to be recognized before I see your hand.
My hand is
raised. I recognize you.
Okay, it's raised.
Thank you. All right, Shannon.
Sylvia, how many times have you and your staff accessed the building since March closure?
So I think it was, as of yesterday, it was, so as of today, 22 times. And again, I have been in every day since last Tuesday. So that's where the bulk of it has been. And prior to that, it's usually once a week just to pick up the mail.
Have you accessed the copier machine during your stays?
This Tuesday, absolutely.
No, throughout the time that you've accessed the building, have you been making?
Yes, yes. So I accessed the copier. I would go in and pick up mail. Most of it is land use notices that I would scan and send to John Tapero to then send out to the neighborhoods.
And then, why are you asking that question?
You know where the 2010 and 2012 boxes of records that have been requested by Civic Life are located?
Excuse me, Shannon. You're asking several questions. You're entitled
I
to
have
ask
a minute.
one. You're entitled to ask one question, and Jackie has a question about the question you're asking.
I just asked, can Sylvia answer my question?
She doesn't have to. That's not her responsibility, and we will talk about the
Answer
executive
my question, please. Sylvia, will you please answer my question?
Janet, why are you asking it? First, tell us why you're asking that.
I don't have to tell you why I'm asking. I'm asking where the 2010 and 2012 boxes of records are located.
Well, I think he doesn't have to tell you that.
Okay, so sorry, I haven't been recognized, but Shannon, it just sounds like you're sort of litigating an issue.
No, not litigating. I'm asking because she's stated to Civic Life and to the board that she hasn't had access to the records that we've been defunded over. And so I'm trying to find out if she's accessed the building where those records are located that the Civic Life is demanding that we are currently defunded over.
Actually, Shannon, you helped with the defunding, so don't sound so innocent. And secondly, she said she'd been going in since last Tuesday on a regular basis to get at those records, and she doesn't need to answer any more questions than that.
Well, I can't.
I think, excuse me, I think questions are along that. That's out of order, I believe. We're
I'm
looking
not out of
for.
order. I was called.
We're looking for a.
Shannon, you've already noticed that you've been disruptive. If I have to say it again, you're going to have to leave the meeting. So listen. All right. Let's continue with anything else you want to say, Sylvia, about your report? No? All right. All right, and I'm sorry, we're going to go on to Mike Lindman, who's going to present a motion from the Parks Committee.
Oh, okay. Should I start now?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
And I think your motion's in front of us on the shared computer screen.
Okay, great. Honestly, this is just a quick letter that was put off, and I want to give a little bit of background as to why we passed this. And this is basically the first of what's going to be many letters coming before you guys in the coming months. So we were sent an email, and it was sent out to the public by the city of Portland at the end of June. And I want to read the important context to this letter that said, basically that because of COVID, Parks and Rec has lost a lot of money that would have come in from fees for customers, things like swim lessons, exercise classes, summer camps, things like that. And that those financial dominoes created a point where not only is COVID a reason that Parks is, especially the rec side of Parks is shut down, but that the financial crisis that has created within Parks would be that they would be likely unable to open pools, community centers, offer classes, camps, or swimming lessons in the summer of 2021 and beyond. So because of that fact, they are in, and it was actually in a thing today at City Council, referring a levy and a 5-year operating levy to the November ballot, trying to find a better funding for parks. So we are sending this first letter basically trying to say that we're supportive of them trying to find solutions. And I want to bring to the board's attention that we're going to be back probably next month talking about the actual levy itself. We would have been talking about it in this letter, but they hadn't actually passed it to be on the November ballot, but that happened this afternoon at about 3:30, 4 o'clock. So obviously not in time for this meeting, but I at least want everybody to start getting their heads around the fact that there's going to be a 5-year operating levy that is going to be on the November 2020 ballot that we're going to be talking about. And we're hoping that the SWNI board will end up taking a position on that. This first letter obviously is more about just encouraging them with suggestions going forward about how we are going to deal with funding sources and how we are going to look at parks going forward.
So Michael, do you have a motion for the board to vote on? Do you have a motion that you've written?
So I honestly, this is my first meeting as the parks chair, so I didn't know I was supposed to write something.
But if you had a motion, what would you be asking?
Basically, the motion would be that we would like to move to send this letter to all of City Council.
Okay. Do we have a second for that? Excuse me, it's coming out of committee, so we don't need a second. Discussion on sending this letter to City Council. If I'll look and see for those that have their hands up, for anybody that would like to comment on the Parks Committee Chair's motion. I don't see any hands up, so let's go ahead and vote. Janet, do you want to call the roll?
Sure. We'll go ahead. We might want to remove the document just so we can see folks. Sylvia, you can remove the document.
Just to
Thank
make
you.
it clear, what we're voting on is we're voting to approve the motion to send the copy of the letter that you saw on the screen to the City Council and designated people that we, SWNI, are sending that letter to City Council. That's what the motion is. Okay,
Thank
go
you.
ahead, Janet.
Steve Mullinax,
Yes.
Teddy O,
Teddy? We'll come back to him.
okay. Janet is a yes. Katie Daly,
Aye.
okay. Bruce Kester,
Yes.
Becky Lilliquist,
Yes.
Tony Hansen. Oh, excuse
Yes.
me, Fran Laird first. Fran Laird.
Yes. Yes.
Tony Hansen.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. George Franos.
Yes.
Kendall Kick.
Yes.
Tatiana.
Yes.
Thank you. Jackie
Yes.
and Maria.
Yes.
Shannon Hiller Webb.
Yes, did you want to add the mayor to your letter? It only says to council.
Yes, it should say to the mayor as well. I meant when I meant Shannon, just to reference, when I meant council, that includes the mayor because he is part of council. But
Perfect.
yes, thank you. I take your point.
Thank you.
Anna Friedhoff
Yes.
and Charlie Van Rossum
Yes.
and Javier.
C, yes.
Thank you. Gary Rundy,
Yes.
Mike Lindman,
Yes.
Kim Silverman.
Yes.
Kim, are you there?
Yes.
Great. Patty McMahon,
Yes.
Stefan
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
and Dawn.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes.
Point of order. Dawn does not have standing.
Your point is out of order at this time.
What is
Thank
your ruling? What is your ruling
My ruling is you're out of order.
on his standing?
Okay,
What
I'd like to talk to the board about is we've been going for a while. Would you like to take a 5-minute break? It's 8:18. Come back at 8:25 and we'll go into executive session. Is that
Yes.
what you would like to do? Okay, couple things I want to say. For executive session, only board members and any press are allowed to be in the meeting. So those of you who are guests, we'll put you in the meeting room. And then when we get done and come back to the board for a vote, we'll bring you back into the general meeting. So for those of you who are guests or other parties, we'll be putting you in the meeting room. So just the board members will be in the executive session. Okay, so when you come back, come in and we'll let you into the we'll keep the people that are board members, and we'll put anybody else in the meeting room until the executive session is done.
You mean wait?
I believe Courtney is here.
Waiting room is what she means.
And can you stop the recording or pause the recording, Steve?
Pause the recording. All right, recording is
I will call on
on.
people that raise their hands if people have further comments they would like to make. But Janet, for everybody, plus the people that are in the meeting, plus people that are outside of the meeting, would you read the motion?
Yes, will do. I move that the SWNI Board of Directors contract with legal counsel to represent the SWNI Board in negotiations with the Office of Civic Engagement regarding the forensic audit and the release of documents that we currently hold as confidential or privileged. We feel it is important that these documents be fully reviewed by legal counsel to ensure that we are not violating any confidentiality agreements with organizations or breaching confidentiality or relaying privileged information about any named individuals who could potentially be harmed by the release of their personal information. The SWNI Executive Committee is authorized to enter into a contract with an attorney and to expend up to $15,000 in fees for this legal counsel contract to be allocated from SWNI board funds. The Executive Committee will report at the SWNI board monthly meetings about legal counsel contract expenditures.
Sylvia, do we need a second on this, or is it because it came out of the executive session we don't need it?
We need a second.
I second.
And that is who, that person?
George for Southwest.
Okay, George. Okay. We've got a motion to approve this motion and a second. Now we're going to open it up for further discussion if there's any on this motion. So I will look at the participants of this list and look for blue hands. Looks like Katie Daly still has her hand up. Katie, would you like to comment?
Yes, it's not still up. That's brand new. I'm just very verbal today. I would like to propose, and yeah, I guess we don't call them friendly amendments anymore, but I would like to strike everything that in the remainder of the sentence after relaying privileged information, period. I don't see a definition of what potentially be harmed is. I don't see a definition of the, personal information. I figure if somebody does something wrong, they should be held accountable. But I don't believe that breaching confidentiality or relaying privileged information should be permitted. I accept that.
So let's get the amendment to Janet. You want to move to strike everything after the words privileged in the motion. That's your amendment.
No, after information.
After what, Katie?
Privileged information, period.
And Shannon seconds it.
I can't find it on the screen. Let me get to it. Can you point?
So are you saying you'd like to see the first paragraph be retained, but you want to strike the second paragraph?
No. The highlighted text there.
There.
Yeah.
Be deleted.
Okay. We didn't really discuss much about what could potentially harm people, but I feel comfortable saying that there will be people that will be harmed if we release privileged information. I just want the board to know that.
If it's privileged information, we shouldn't be releasing it.
Right.
That's why it's privileged.
Yeah.
So the attorney would decide whether that's privileged, Katie.
No, that's not accurate. The word privilege in this paragraph is probably used as a term of art to refer to like a specific type of privilege, not just generally privileged. So I think
plus privilege can be defined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mariana,
I'm sorry. Hey, let me call. First, I'm going to raise something, and then spoke. So I guess what I'm puzzled by, should we go ahead and vote on this deletion as a board? Does everybody understand it? Okay.
There was a second.
There was a second. You need to vote.
Yeah, Shannon seconded.
So let's call the roll on this and see who wants to support that deletion. Janet, go ahead and start.
Sure.
As soon as you're free.
Steve Mullinax, do you support deletion?
No.
Teddy O, do you support the deletion?
What about
No, I don't see the purpose.
discussion, Janet? We have a motion, we've seconded it. Now can't we discuss before we vote?
That's up to the chair.
Okay, we'll extend the meeting. Let's discuss the deletion. Please raise your blue hands and I'll call on you. Okay, Patty, would you like to comment on this? She took her hand down, so I'll go to Mike.
No, I took her hand down. Patty
Oh.
is waiting to speak.
Okay, Patty, go ahead.
No.
I've called on you. Do you want to talk to the amendment?
No, other than no, I'm good.
Okay, the next one would be Jackie. Would you like to talk to the amendment?
I would just like to ask Tatiana to repeat her comment about what privileged information is in this situation. In that phrase.
Can I speak?
We'll give you a moment.
I don't think it was Tatiana that said that. Someone, I think she's.
It was
Oh,
Anna.
I did say that.
Yes. Oh, Tatiana, you can go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say that a privilege or privileged information is a matter of definition, even within privileged information. And this shows the intent of what privileged information we are especially concerned about. And I think it's important to be left in there as guidance.
Okay.
Bruce?
Yes.
Bruce?
I was thinking.
I'll call you in a minute, Teddy. Bruce, you're next.
Yeah, I would like to say, I think it should be, it should not be deleted, because what we really want to protect is not the organizations per se, but people. Is that not correct?
Yes, that's part of it. I agree. That's true. Okay, thank you. Javier, what would you speak to the amendment, please?
Do we already know the documents that are harmful and to what degree they're harmful, or they're
so many?
Some of them, yeah. I'd say a large portion.
We know the categories. We know the categories of the information. So
is somebody
one of those larger categories is personnel information. So SWNI typically has a practice of going into executive session with making hiring decisions, and the names of the candidates for positions are revealed in those executive sessions. When they move back into public minutes in minutes records, they announce the candidate that was chosen, but do not mention the names of the other candidates. So were executive session minutes revealed, people who applied for positions who were not chosen by SWNI would be outed as having applied for SWNI. There are many people who work for organizations that have employment agreements that prohibit them from seeking employment with other organizations. So it could actually potentially injure someone by making a public revelation about them applying for different jobs. That's one instance that would come forward. There were particular complaints filed by employees toward board members. And again, individual information was a part of those complaint process. It was a employee to board, so it wasn't covered by the ONI standards of release on the typical complaint procedure. So again, there could be the potential for harm in releasing that personal information.
All right,
And
Mike, I see your hands up. Do you want to comment on the amendment?
I just wanted, I guess Tatiana kind of covered it, but I just, from everybody with kind of like the legal background, if they think that maintaining the language after information is important, or if it's covered by just saying privileged information. And Tatiana seems to think that it's important that it remains. I'm just curious to the legal minds on the community, their thoughts.
Let's ask Anna. Anna, are you still here? Do you have a comment on whether that
So
language is okay or not?
sure. I mean, generally in a legal context, from an evidentiary standpoint, when you talk about privilege, you're talking about a term of art, meaning attorney-client privilege, doctor-patient privilege, that type of realm. So that does not include potentially harming individuals. So in order for this to be accurate, we need to say privileged information about what we're talking about. So what Tatiana was saying is we need that definition, because it's not just a confidentiality breach and it's not just privilege. We're talking about protecting individuals who may be harmed, which is separate and apart from what I previously listed as attorney-client privilege, doctor-patient, those things.
Thanks.
Does that help, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. Shannon, I see your hands up, so you're next.
So I listened to the things outlined by Janet, and it seems to me there's a longstanding practice of redaction, and that's a pretty common practice. So why would redacting the documents with that sensitive information and providing them to the request be problematic?
Well, most of the information, may I respond, Leslie?
Yeah, go ahead, Janet.
Most of the information the city has talked about, basically the instruction they've given us that everything will become public information when turned over to them. And we would essentially be turning over information to the city without any guarantee that that information will be kept confidential or privileged when we know there is this potential for breaching confidentiality or relaying privileged information about individuals. And some of the content of the files was attorney-client privilege. I should add that in there. So we essentially aren't trying to redact anything. We are essentially holding back information that we feel is within our purview and our board of directors' right under Oregon nonprofit law to hold this information back.
Okay.
Until we have legal counsel.
Okay, now she's answered your question. I'm going to go to the next person. It's Kim Silverman. Kim, would you like to comment? You're a lawyer.
Well, I think part of the problem is we don't know what this is all about. So we're going into what is essentially a discovery process blind, and we don't know. There's not a clear claim. There's not a clear cause of action that's been alleged. There's not a particular sort of malfeasance that's been articulated. So we don't know. We can't redact anything without knowing if it's responsive to what they're looking for. And so it's sort of like we're doing this completely out of order. And I think that's why we have to get the attorney involved.
They're not looking for people that have applied to jobs, though.
We don't know what they're looking for. I mean, is it going to be some sort of bribery to get a job? I mean, that's the problem. We have no idea.
We have some idea.
Well, there's the list. Thank you. Tatiana, your hand's up. Go ahead and make your comment. Tatiana.
Just one thing I have noticed that what I would like to see actually say is relaying privileged information, including any named individuals who could potentially be named by the.
You'd like to add the word including to the.
Yes, actually, yes. I'm sorry I didn't notice it before.
Okay.
Then I think it would have to say including but not limited to.
Yes, absolutely, sure.
Okay, thank you. You know what Shakespeare said about the attorneys?
We haven't voted on the amendment to take it out yet, so I think this might be a good time to do it. Would you call?
Janet's hand is still up.
I'm good.
I think
you,
she's
sorry.
been busy and not been able to put it
Yeah,
down.
thank you.
Let's call the roll on the amendment to delete the language that Katie suggested be deleted. Start with the first person.
Steve Mullinax?
No.
Teddy O?
I'd like to withdraw the motion after listening to the argument, and let's just speed this up.
Good.
All right, we
Okay.
appreciate that. So we're back to the original motion.
No.
Tatiana suggested an amendment. So Tatiana, could you read your amendment again, please?
Yes, so in that, at the end of that first paragraph, relay privileged information, comma, including but not limited to, comma, any named individuals who could potentially be harmed.
Okay.
Of their personal
Discussion, or we need a second on this amendment. Do we have a second?
Kim?
Okay. Who's the second?
George.
George. Oh, George, you're great. You're a seconder. Our standards.
Yes.
Do we want to discuss this?
No real reason.
No.
All right. All right. No discussion. So Janet, call the roll on this amendment, please.
Those in favor of approval of the motion as amended? Steve Mullinax?
Yes.
Teddy O,
Yes.
Janet is a yes. Katie Daly, do
Um,
you want to come back to you?
yeah, I'm
remind
still
me.
turning this.
Okay, I'll come back. Don't let me forget. Bruce Kester,
Yes.
Becky Lilliquist,
Yes.
Fran Laird,
Yes.
Tony Hansen,
Yes.
George Franos,
Yes.
Kendall,
Yes.
great. Tatiana,
Yes.
Jackie Phillips,
Yes.
and Maria,
Yes.
Shannon,
No.
Anna Friedhoff,
Yes.
Charlie Van Rossen,
Yes.
Javier,
Abstain.
Gary Rundy,
Yes.
Mike Lindman,
Yes.
Kim Silverman,
Yes.
Patty McMahon,
Yes.
Stefan,
Let me check
Stefan
and see.
Lewis.
Oh, here.
Is Stefan, you're abstaining? Okay, thank you. Murphy
Yes.
and Don Bach.
Yes.
Yes, the motion carries.
Katie, go back.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
coming
sorry,
back.
Katie.
Yeah, and I'm coming back and having read it, I'm not comfortable spending 20% of our savings when we don't have funds. So I'm going to vote no.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Katie. Now, is the board ready to vote on the entire motion as amended? Do I have any objections to voting on the entire amendment as amended?
Janet, please write down the amendment so we can see it.
Yeah, I can't. It's actually a PDF that Sylvia has.
Okay.
So following the word
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. The strike about and put in not limited
It'll be
to.
including but not limited to any
Yeah.
named individual.
I thought we just voted on the motion because we accepted it as revision. We accepted the motion revised without, so I thought we just voted on the motion.
That was my understanding.
Amendment, and now we're voting on the motion. Because Tatiana made an amendment which passed, and now we're ready to vote on the entire motion.
Well, then I vote yes for the amendment. I thought we were voting on the whole motion.
Okay. Then
I did
fine.
too. I thought we
Okay.
accepted the motion.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
all right. So we are going to vote on the whole motion, and we're going to let Janet call the roll again.
Here we go again. Steve Mullinax. Approval of motion is amended. Steve?
Steve doesn't seem to be there.
I think he might have stepped out. We'll come back to him.
Okay.
Yes.
No,
Teddy?
I vote yes. Steve votes yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Janet votes yes. Teddy voted yes. Katie Daly?
No.
Bruce Kester?
Yes.
Becky Lilliquist?
Yes.
Fran Laird?
Yes.
Tony Hansen?
Yes.
George Vranos?
Yes.
Kendall?
Yes.
Tatiana?
Yes. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Jackie?
Yes.
And Maria?
Yes.
And Shannon?
No.
And Anna Friedhoff?
Yes.
Charlie Van Rossen?
Charlie?
Yes.
Thank you.
Javier?
Abstain.
Okay. And Gary Rundy?
Yes.
And Mike Lindman?
Yes.
And Kim Silverman?
Yes.
And Patty McMahon?
Yes.
And Stefan Lewis?
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. Murphy?
Yes.
And Don Bach?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Janet will tell us the numbers in a minute. We need to go back to the last items on our agenda. And the one thing I want to ask the board, well, I'm looking for the agenda, which has disappeared, is would they think it wise to consult with legal counsel on this issue before we sit down with a meeting with Suk.
Yes.
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 Isn't the meeting with Suk just setting ground rules and not really doing anything? I'd like to know what
No, there are no ground rules.
Yeah, no. Get an
It's about
attorney.
asking and answering questions. No.
Well,
Okay. All right, because I need to inform her in the morning that we politely declined to meet with her tomorrow, but we will as soon as we've had a chance to consult with legal counsel. And we'll do that as fast as we can because it's in our best interest as well as theirs.
Yeah, you've already given her a heads up to that possibility, right?
I did, and now I feel like I have to carry through tomorrow and say that we did vote to hire a lawyer and we would want to reset the meeting.
He's waiting for that response.
Right, exactly. So we're at unfinished business, an hour late, which is the status of the community engagement program. Actually, I'm going to ask Sylvia to give a quick status report on sort of how many applications we've got and her comments. I'd like to hear what she has to say.
Actually, I don't know. Tomorrow or Friday is the deadline.
But
So-
you know roughly how many applications have come in.
Actually, I don't. No. Sarah and John have been doing that. I don't have a count yet, but I know that they've talked to a number of people and community organizations. So a lot of people wait till the last minute to put their proposal in. I'm sorry, I can't give you a number.
Homestead is way behind, and I was going to ask for an extension. But I would like to see that this program be moved to next month so that we can see to be fiscally responsible. The work we're doing tonight is more important right now, I feel.
I think I'll look for hands, but I would tend to say that I agree with you because we do need to do a pro forma on the money that we have and how long it will last. And that would of course include any grants of money to the neighborhoods. And if we have a little more time, we can, as a board, decide what we should do with the seed money. And so I encouraged what you're saying. Let's see, I've got Tatiana would like to speak to this and Katie would like to speak to this.
I'm sorry, I wanted to speak to something else. I wanted to say that I would like to suggest the thinking about telling Sukri that although we have decided to hire a lawyer, we haven't identified which one. And so take more time because she will be expecting an answer quicker than if she knew that we did not.
Right, I will convey that to her. Thank you, Tatiana.
Thank you, sorry.
Katie, you're next.
that was the exact same board that I was going to jump off. What is our next step now that we've approved that to select one?
Well, motion says the executive committee will come up with that selection based on the people that are interviewed. We'll interview the person that Tatiana suggested and then find out who's really available and then go ahead and hire the best one.
So you're not coming back to make a recommendation, you're just gonna move ahead, okay.
Oh, I think you should come back, Leslie, to the board.
When?
Well, even if it's just informative information,
Okay, sorry guys.
Well, go ahead, Teddy.
I've got to run.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. If we need to vote, let's vote. Otherwise, I'm gone.
Okay. Are you talking about voting on the person we'd select or something else?
Oh, the motion said that you're going to choose. So give us information when you make the choice.
Okay. All right.
All right. Now, what do we have left here?
We have Becky Lillienquist, and then we can go to adjournment. Becky, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, it's to do with the public safety. Are we still having public safety meeting next month, or has that been canceled due to the people not having Zoom or virtual contact?
We're still having the public safety committee meeting. It will be a program about a not-for-profit that's starting up called C&B Scene. And it's an initiative that a guy named Don Merrill is starting. And the idea is to provide light bulbs to people in communities of color to try to reduce the number of traffic stops and the number of unpleasant or even fatal contacts with police.
So could I have you, Kim, send me the link to public safety so I can zoom in on that meeting for next month?
I will do that.
George has been waving his hand. Somebody needs to acknowledge George.
Oh, George, sorry.
Yeah,
Please,
hi.
George.
Look, just a question. On the CAP funds, Far Southwest will be giving their request in tomorrow. I don't understand why we can't just keep the deadline for Friday, and then, because you never tell us when we're going to be awarded the amount. I mean,
That's right. We were going to set up a finance meeting. You're right, George. So we can keep the deadline as Friday and then have people turn them in. If somebody needs an extension, and there's good, I wouldn't be opposed to an extension, but then the finance committee has to meet afterwards and decide whether the allocations are, or not the allocations, but the applications are sound and whether they should be funded. And that will be, we haven't even set a date for that yet. So you're right, George. We haven't set a date for determining whether the applications are sound and should be funded.
and you're going to find out more things about civic life between now and then.
Right, exactly.
Get the applications in and they can sit for a while.
Right. That's what I would suggest.
Good. Well, let's do that. And let's go.
All right.
Yeah, there is information in the grant documents, the background information documents that does say the finance committee will meet and decide by a certain date. So we'll have to, people who have made applications will let them know that if we are delaying that.
Right, exactly. Okay, we're about ready for a motion for adjournment. I see that Shannon's hand is up. You'll be the last comment of the evening before we adjourn, Shannon.
Thank you. It's kind of reiterating what's been said, but I want to make certain that there is an official communication that goes out to the people who have taken the time to do the applications for the CAP. And I think there was a request for discussion that was to come out in here to talk about the delay officially of that. And so I didn't know if there was any formality we wanted to put on that delay so that we could offer clear communication around the CAP to the applicants.
Well, it's sort of uncertain. So for the finance committee, we don't meet till about the 15th of August, unless we call an emergency meeting.
So would the communication be that it would carry over to a different finance committee month? Or are you going to say to the CAP applicants that the 15th will be discussion around the applications? And
There was a proposed date that the finance committee meet on July 31st to review applications.
So we'll do that. So the next date about talking about those will be July 31st.
Move to adjourn.
Those questions are good ones, Shannon. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, then we'll vote on that. But before we do, I want to thank you for your dedication and time and thoughtfulness and all the energy you've brought to this meeting tonight. It's a measure of how valuable you are to your neighborhoods and to your neighbors. And I have most especially appreciated as president. Thank you. Okay, all in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Oh, go forth and have a good evening.